time, the Jews were only a small and insignificant part of the Roman Empire, and over most of the empire, the dominant civilization was still Greek. In Jesus' time, non-Jewish people all over the Mediterranean world regarded this as the landscape of the afterlife, and they had done so for centuries. To them, the river Acheron was the frontier between the living and the dead. It was here that Charon, the deathly boatman, was believed to ferry the shades of the departed to Hades, the land of the dead. It's all described with uncanny accuracy in their literature, right down to the arrangement of the rivers, the mountains, and the sea. For the ancient Greeks, the equivalent of the Old Testament was the poetry of Homer, the Iliad, and the Odyssey. And in those books, there are one or two wonderful passages which describe what it's like being dead. To be honest, it's not a nice thing being dead in the world of Homer. You don't have a body, you don't have a lovely, blissful heaven to look forward to. Instead, it's a dark and gloomy place where shadows flit to and fro, things that used to be human but really aren't anymore. The one thing they don't have is bodies. There's one spectacular passage where Odysseus goes down to Hades and he meets, among other people, the shade of his own mother. And he tries to embrace her, but he can't, because she's only just a shadow flitting to and fro. And she then explains to him why that is.
All people are like this when they are dead. The sinews no longer hold the flesh and bones together. These perish in the fierceness of consuming fire as soon as life has left the body, and the soul flits away as though it were a dream.
The poem tells us that the meeting took place right here in the valley of the Acheron. So it's no surprise that people began to come here in the hope of contacting the dead and seeing into the future. So this ruin is called the Necromantion, or death magic place. It's an oracle dedicated to Persephone, goddess of the dead. In ancient times, worshippers would visit the shrine, and after a period of prayer and sacrifice, they would be conducted through the labyrinth and down into the underworld. There in the darkness, they would consult the priestess on the frontier between the living and the dead, just as today one might visit a medium. But it was only ever about a meeting with spirits. So here we are at the end of the tunnel, and what do we find? Quite literally, a dead end, illustrating quite graphically the truth that the ancient classical world knew just as much as we do with the benefit of modern science. Once you're dead, you're dead. There's no way back. Of course, people would come here and try to get in touch with the dead, but the one thing that they couldn't do was then to take them back home with them afterwards. So for many people, the answer was a shrug of the shoulders. Non fui, fui, non sum, non curo. You find it in Latin inscriptions all over the ancient world. I was not, I was. I am not, I don't care. That's it.